This video is sponsored by NordVPN. 4 years ago, Google made the decision to pivot from its Qualcomm-based Pixel smartphones to a Googlier future. And I believe, maybe controversially, that they actually made the right call because of a few key upgrades that we got along the way. This is just how far we've come since the first generation of Tensor Pixels, and it's a massive leap. Hey guys, I'm Ryan Thomas, and these two phones follow the same formula, but their respective finished products are absolutely miles away. Like, they're both big, expensive, luxury smartphones packed with the best specs and features that Google offered at the times of their release. The Pixel 6 Pro was a new kind of Pixel. It was a stark contrast to not only the Pixel 5, which was definitely more of a mid-ranger than anything else, but to the more expensive predecessors to the 5. You know, the 6 Pro not only marked a shift in internal hardware, but the vision of what the highest end version of the Pixel was actually meant to be. More on that after a word from our sponsor. One of the most convenient and handy inventions of the last few years is certainly a VPN, and that's where this video's sponsor NordVPN comes in. Not only does this service help you browse anonymously, tunneling your network traffic through another region which helps secure your connection, but it's also just really handy for watching programs, movies and sports that you just wouldn't get in your home version of Netflix, for example. Or if, like me, you're a diehard Premier League fanatic and you go on holiday, being able to log into your streaming services just as you normally would without a fuss is brilliant, and NordVPN allows you to do that. It works on Mac, Windows, iOS and our beloved Android. It's easy to install and get set up. If you go to nordvpn.com/androidpolice, you'll get up to 77% off a 2-year plan and 4 months extra for free. So check that link out in the video description, and a big thanks to NordVPN for sponsoring today's content. The Pixel 6 Pro was big, slick, had a wonderful display, a whole new array of cameras for the first time in years, with a much larger and more capable set of sensors and lenses. I was always a really big fan of the curved sides on the 6 Pro, the flush buttons, the camera visor, which has become basically iconic, but more of a pill shape now than before. But it wasn't all plain sailing with the Pixel 6 Pro. Not only was its optical in-display fingerprint reader slow, unresponsive, just straight up a pain in the butt to use most times, but probably the most controversial and biggest problem areas for this phone all stemmed from that bold switch, that transition from the revered and respected Qualcomm chips to Google's own made SoCs, the Tensor series, and the G1 in the 6 Pro was notorious. Raw performance was not really close to Qualcomm, Exynos or even Apple. Despite the phone's lofty price tag, cellular connectivity problems absolutely plagued many units, resulting in just poor cell service, like poor reception. And battery life was quite drastically affected due to the inefficiency of the first gen Tensor. But perhaps worst of all, the overheating disaster caused many buyers to actually just return their phones. As I'm sure some of you have already seen before, leaks from Google's internal meetings revealed that the company actually knew about these overheating issues and labelled the biggest factor in returning their phones. So what's changed? Well, whilst the Tensor G5 certainly cannot match Qualcomm, Apple or even Samsung in raw horsepower these days, it has certainly improved to the point where you can play 3D games on your phone with little to no dramas from a performance standpoint, apart from the Genshin Impact driver situation, but that's fascinating. The battery draw when the SoC is under load is still a problem, so if you're really looking to stretch the legs of the Pixel 10 Pro XL and play long sessions, it might not go great for you. But generally, the performance has improved significantly, and I'm far more confident now recommending Pixels to my friends and family than I was way back when the 6 Pro was the hot new thing. Literally in that case. And speaking of, overheating has not been a problem for a little while on Pixel smartphones, at least in general. There will be edge cases. Google seems to have its act together when it comes to managing the power output of the Tensor G5. We've actually found in the Pixel 9 and the 10 series, they've been outperforming Qualcomm and Apple powered ones in cellular connectivity, or at least for the last couple of months or so. Not every single time, it is spotty, hit or miss, but I've not really found that using a Google setup was really a hindrance in 5G, LTE or Wi-Fi inside my house. The Pixel also lasts considerably longer on a charge these days compared with the always average and sometimes even poor battery life of the 6 Pro. And so I can happily say that the Pro XL and even the smaller Pro these days are all-day phones for almost everyone. Google really has made strides in that area, and it shows. I think the move to a flat panel has really helped people get on board with the Pixel. I'm personally a fan of rounded sides, but I figured that most people just want an easy to use flat base with some thin bezels. The visor has become more of an oblong camera table, but still very much iconic and very easily recognizable. And I don't know about you, but Google's colors have been pretty good for quite a while now. And speaking of colours, the 6 Pro's panel was always one of the better screens on a smartphone, but the 10 Pro XL's display is perhaps the best screen in a smartphone. I mean, it gets insanely bright, happily runs at 120Hz if you enable it in the settings, and remains super crisp and high-end. And as a 4-figure phone, really probably should. Having a big canvas for activity is something that many are looking for these days, as for many, their only computer is their phone. And though there have been some market improvements, you still feel the Pixel's DNA in the latest model. And let's talk about those cameras. Both have selfie, main, ultra-wide and telephoto, though the Pixel 10 Pro XL is using much newer and more powerful sets of the three. But the differences are specific, so I want to talk about those. Using the main camera in most lighting conditions, you will be hard pressed to notice a severe difference between them. Sure, there are some dynamic range, color and contrast tweaks here and there. I think the 9 Pro XL just comes out on top in some of these tests, but to be honest, it might come down to personal preference. It might be a bit more subjective with the main 1x cameras than an actual objective quality disparity. But when you switch to any 3 of those other lenses, you will find more of an actual drop off with the older phone. The ultra-wide on the newer phone gathers more information with a better low light, but also just a larger field of view, which gives you an even more grand and exaggerated look. And when you go the other way and start cropping in, the Pixel 6 Pro is actually a 4x optical, whereas the 10 Pro XL is a 5x optical. And you'll find that the latter can just keep going. And the 6 Pro caps out at 20x digitally, whereas the 10 Pro is going to be able to go beyond 30, right up to 100, where it is employing AI generation to deliver quite uncanny results. We have plenty of content about this camera on the channel, so if you want to learn more, check those out. The 42 megapixel selfie camera on the 10 Pro XL absolutely wipes the floor with the older phone as well, particularly in that it has a larger field of view and is far more capable of capturing dynamic range in harsh environments. I think the Pixel 10 Pro XL's selfie camera might be one of the best in a smartphone at the moment. Google has also got significantly better with video. The 8K video boost out of the modern phone really does look heaps better than its predecessor, and a considerable improvement over actually quite a lot of phones these days. And though software certainly was a big focus on the 6 Pro when released, the 10 Pro XL takes it to another level with many AI-based software tools. You know, the likes of Gemini, ProRes Zoom, Video Boost, Pixel Studio. It's all a lot more cohesive and you're encouraged to use it. Google now makes its phones in an attempt to wow you and drag you away from the likes of Apple and Samsung, where that probably wasn't quite the case with the first generation. The Pixel Pro has come an awfully long way from the 6 with the first generation Tensor. First gen triple camera, first gen high-end build. 4 phones later, Google has realized its vision for what a high-end smartphone should look and feel like. And I don't know if it's just me, but it feels like Google is just getting started. Let me know in the comment section if you're a Pixel user and how long have you been one? Have you tried Tensor phones and just had to abandon ship for something a bit more powerful or something that doesn't overheat? And if you have stuck around, how are you enjoying the new AI generated fruits of your very real labor? As always, let's have a discussion in the comment section of this video. And whilst you're down there, be sure to hit like if you enjoyed today's content and subscribe to never miss another upload. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ryan Thomas and I'll catch you later. Cheers.